Have you ever asked ChatGPT to write code only for it to completely mess up? Maybe it gave you broken code, maybe it just didn't run, or maybe it's just not what you were looking for. The truth is, it's not actually ChatGPT's fault. The real problem, you're asking it wrong. I hear this from people all the time. It gave me code that doesn't work. It referenced a function that doesn't exist, or just it's not understanding what I'm asking it. The thing is, ChatGPT does not understand code the way that we do. It doesn't think about it in the way that we do. All it's doing is predicting the next most likely item, token, word in a sequence based off of its training data. Quite frankly, garbage in, garbage out. The response only going to be as good as the prompt. Let's go through some mistakes that people often make. The first mistake is that people ask for code without context, meaning they just ask something that's super, super vague, don't give any context to what they're looking for, and unfortunately, ChatGPT, or fortunately, actually, that would be quite scary. ChatGPT can't read our minds. We have to tell it exactly what we're looking for. So, for example, instead of asking it, write a function that sorts a list, be more specific and ask something like, write a Python function that takes a list of integers in as input and sorts them in ascending order using a quicksort algorithm. You've now told it exactly what you want it to do, which is making it far more likely that it's going to do what you want it to do. A second mistake that people often make is not specifying languages. If you don't specify a language, you don't know what you're going to get back. So instead of just saying, hey, can you create a web form? Say something like, please create a login form using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. A third mistake that I see people making a lot is not giving input and output examples. You don't necessarily have to do this, but it often does help the chances of getting a correct answer. So, for example, instead of saying write a function that converts temperatures, you could say something like, please create a Python function that converts Fahrenheit to Celsius. Then you would provide input and output examples by saying something like, example, Fahrenheit 98.7 degrees is Celsius. Gosh, what is that? 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit is 37 degrees Celsius. I totally just did that in my head and didn't look it up at all. A fourth mistake that people often make is that they ask for too much at once. For example, write me a React web app. Like, that's not only is that vague, that's a lot. That's a lot that you're asking for at once. What you should be doing instead is breaking it into steps. Just like you as a developer, if you were approaching a problem, you're not going to just like, oh, I'm going to sit down and now I'm going to write up a web app in React. You're going to think about, okay, well, I need to make my homepage first, and then I need to write my my route. Like, there's different steps that you're going to take. Break these steps into different prompts and ask ChatGPT one by one. So instead of asking it, make it a React web app, you'd ask, hey, can you make an index page for my React web app portfolio that links to this, or whatever you want to do. But you'd start with one manageable chunk. The fifth mistake is not necessarily something that you can't do. Like, you don't have to do this, but I think it does help, is asking ChatGPT to explain the code. I think you should always ask ChatGPT to explain its process, because hopefully you're looking through the code before you're just deploying stuff or before you just copy paste. But it makes it a lot easier if it explains what it did at the end to catch mistakes or catch logical errors or catch if it's doing something that you don't want it to do. And then also just understand what it's doing. And it's just good to understand what it's doing. So there are three secrets, if you will, to making ChatGPT code well. The first one, like I just mentioned, is step-by-step prompts. Instead of just dumping everything into one prompt, break it into step-by-step prompts. So, for example, if you're making a to-do list app, you could ask for your first step, hey, please create a simple to-do list app using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then it would do it, and then after that you want to go back and add a feature. So you can go back with second prompt and say, here's the HTML, here's the CSS, here's the JavaScript. Can you add a feature that allows users to create and save multiple lists instead of just having one task list? Get back the code, see if it works, do all your testing, your debugging, and then after that, you can go back and you can give it all the HTML, CSS, JavaScript again, and say, can you make this look prettier, more responsive using Bootstrap? Then you'd get all that, so on and so forth. The second secret is tell ChatGPT what you already know. ChatGPT's responses get tailored just based off of an assumed knowledge. It doesn't know what you know, so you have to tell it. If you don't clarify what level you're at, then it's going to either assume you're a beginner or worse, assume that you're much more advanced than you actually are, and then you'd be completely lost. For example, if you ask it, can you explain how APIs work? It is going to assume that you are a beginner and you don't know what APIs are, how they work, and it's probably going to give you back a brief overview of APIs. If you already know how APIs work for the most part, you're pretty comfortable, you know how to use REST APIs, for example, and you're looking just for one specific thing, tell it that it doesn't know. So in your prompt, you can say something like, I already know how REST APIs work, but I need help understanding how GraphQL works. Can you compare them? Then you're going to get a better response that's actually answering what you're looking for. The third secret is have it correct itself. Have ChatGPT correct its own mistakes. If you put in the code, run it, and you're getting an error, copy and paste that error into your prompt. Say, I am getting this error for this code, and copy and paste the code in and say, can you fix this? Or can you explain the error? Or can you help me fix this? And it's going to go through and actually correct its own mistakes. Or if you see the response it gives you and you know that that's not correct, you know it's not doing it the way that it's supposed to be doing it, then respond to it and say, hey, your answer doesn't work because XYZ. Can you fix it? You're almost treating ChatGPT like they're your student and you're assigning the student homework, but the student does it wrong. So you're explaining to them, hey, this is wrong because blah, blah, blah. Fix it. And then they're going to go and fix their own mistakes. Have ChatGPT fix its own mistakes. Have it help you. So, after all of that, hopefully you have a better grasp, if you didn't already, on how to get ChatGPT to code better. If you still have questions or you're still having some issues with this, go ahead and drop a comment below, and I will do my very best to answer any questions that you may have. If you did find this video useful, or you're just curious about some of the other videos that I have, please subscribe, like, comment, anything. It would be very much appreciated.